This excerpt is read from the book St Joseph of Petrograd, His Biography and Writings, by M.S. Sakharov and L.E. Sikorskaya. It is published by Orthodox Traditionalist Publications. Please forgive any of my own mispronunciations of names or places. Vladika Joseph wrote considerations on the order of meeting His Majesty during the supreme procession in Yaroslav and Rostov. Vladika Joseph wrote in detail about the meeting of the sovereign. Quote, "The morning of May 22nd, 1913 turned out to be extremely pleasant and joyful. It seemed that nature itself decided to join the general joy of the Rostov residents, who were waiting for their much-desired guest, and generously deployed its gifts for his arrival. With the long drought before that day and the stifling atmosphere, the dust of the streets suddenly disappeared by its magic wave overnight. It was raining heavily that night, unnoticed by anyone. It stopped by dawn, giving an unusually light, fragrant, and fresh morning. There were no specks of dust anywhere. The road, strewn everywhere with fresh yellow sand along the route of the sovereign, became clean and smooth like a tablecloth. Washed with a light night rain, houses were renovated, painted, and beautifully decorated with greenery. Flowers, flags shone affectionately and tenderly and seemed to smile at the dear guest. The spring sun shone brightly and warmly, and from the very early morning the streets were filled with people dressed up in festive clothes. With joyful expectation and pleasure on their faces, impenetrable crowds of people have been crowding around the cathedral since the very dawn. They were eager to see the beloved Tsar as soon as possible and close by." End quote. Rostov met the Tsar with the ringing of all its famous bells, together with its family and court. The Tsar first went to the Assumption Cathedral, where he prayed and worshipped relics. By 4 o'clock, a visit to the Spaso-Yakovlevsky Monastery was scheduled. By this time, crowds of people flowed away from the cathedral and flowed to the monastery. Already an hour before the arrival of the sovereign, the monastery bell began to ring. Quote, "The children gathered here from the parochial schools of the city and the surrounding area were rummaging in the yard, settling in their places. The people stirred and ran around. The churches were illuminated by countless lights of candles and icon lamps, and the clergy dressed in new vestments, in the style of Rostov and Yaroslav of the 17th century. Richly decorated with carpets, the ancient Conception Cathedral, just washed from top to bottom and lit by 3 chandeliers with wax candles, looked extremely cozy and festive. Soon the fuss of preparation died down everywhere, and there was a sacred silence and awe of expectation. It became very quiet in the church. Only the candles crackled merrily all around, and the vigilant guard of the monastery belfry buzzed in the distance, announcing with each stroke the arrival of the royal worshippers. A whole avenue of banners jingled musically with bronze tassels bordering the path to the church. On the platform in front of the church, in full vestments with the Holy Cross, accompanied by a hieromonk with holy water and an archdeacon with a censer, the superior of the monastery, Bishop Joseph, was waiting for the Tsar. The rest of the monks were waiting in the church. 2 6-year-old children in small surplices and in their hands with candles decorated with fresh flowers and ribbons came forward in front of everyone. The advanced detachments of the Tsar's court began to arrive. The tension of expectation grows to the extreme limits. All the bells rang and the Tsar's car appeared. Closer, closer. The people are bowing. A rolling hurrah from 1,000 breasts is booming. The car, quietly, as if having a reverent respect for the sanctity of the place, goes through the gates of the monastery, and passing the crowds of joyfully greeting people, stops at a large carpet spread on the ground. The bishop made the sign of the cross over His Majesty, and the royal foot descends on the sacred ground of the monastery. The Tsar is followed by his august children, the heir Tsarevich and the Grand Duchesses, with a brilliant retinue behind. ministers, and others. The sovereign and his children, preceded by 2 little children with candles, approached the holy cross, receiving sprinkling with holy water, and kissing hands of each other with the bishop who met them. Then everyone goes to the church." End quote. In the church near the relics of St. Demetrius, a prayer service begins, at the end of which Bishop Joseph presents the holy icons to the royal worshippers and then shows the relics of the church. They venerate the holy relics and icons with awe. The sovereign is keenly interested in everything, asking questions, draws attentions to the remains of an ancient stone iconostasis preserved behind a modern wooden gilded one, and expresses regret that such a remarkable ancient thing is covered by one less valuable and suitable for its ancient cathedral structure. Bishop Joseph requests that the sovereign's permission to accept an exact copy of the Vato Peti icon of the Mother of God made by the monastery for blessing the empress who, due to ill health, could not visit Rostov. This icon was held by Lisa Lapeshkina, who received healing in 1910 from the icon of the Mother of God, quote, "tender feeling," unquote. Vladika told about this, and the sovereign talked with Lisa, and the children, quote, "listened to this conversation with emotion, carefully examining the recent victim of a terrible disease, healed by the mercy of the Queen of Heaven," unquote. The sovereign and the children were greatly interested in the Church of the Resurrection with the Holy Sepulchre, a replica of the one in Jerusalem. They all went down there at the same time and stayed there for a long time and prayed. According to Vladika Joseph, quote, illuminated by 33 icon lamps, according to the number of years of Christ, and decorated with flowers, lamps, and sacred images, the cave makes a stronger impression on the soul, transferring the mind to the authentic places and the setting of the death and burial of the resurrected life-giver, unquote. After visiting the cave chamber, going upstairs, the emperor saw the gates open to the lake and wanted to go there. Quote, "The somewhat unexpected decision of the sovereign caught everyone by surprise. Crowds of people who did not foresee this and were waiting for the Tsar to go to the Sheremetyevo chapel turned out to be blocking his way, and the sovereign had to go through the thick crowd of people. It was an extremely touching picture of the adored monarch's closest contact with his people. Rarely else could the Tsar feel so free as here, where he was surrounded by the sincerest and enthusiastically ardent love, ready to lay down their souls for him. To what extent the Tsar was close to the people at that time can be judged by the following small incident. It was said that some nimble boy, probably due to a well-known Russian weakness, not only to believe his eyes but also to feel with his hands, lightly touched the sovereign's saber with his hand. The sovereign shook his finger at the boy with a smile. Having gone through the water gate to the shore of the lake, the sovereign admired the wonderful picture for a long time, asking an ordinary peasant who happened to be near him about the lake and the villages and churches they could see around it. Unquote. At parting, Bishop Joseph presented the sovereign with enamel portraits of the sovereign, the empress, and the heir, and the Tsarevic, artistically made by local craftsmen, as well as a description of the monastery, books and pamphlets of the monastery's publishing house.